It was so much better than the other show that we've been reviewing. I can't really tell if it's a great show or it's just a good show. I think it's probably just a good show.
I mean, am I going to go shout to all my friends like, you have to watch this because this is the best show ever? No. Welcome to The Right Advice. I'm Randy.
And I'm Amber. And today we're actually going to talk about National Treasure, The Edge of History. Is that what it is? The Edge of History?
The Edge of Something.
The Edge of Something.
Not The Edge of Night, because that was a soap opera like during the 70s. But it's episode 1 we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so we both watched episode 1. And Randy, let's get your first reaction.
I felt that this was kind of like a good news, bad news situation. The good news is this is a well-written story. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to have a hard time coming up with problems with it. I mean, no show is perfect, but this was pretty close. And then the bad news is I'm not sure we're going to do another video on the episode or the series. I'm going to watch them all, but I don't know that everyone's going to be interested in us saying, yay, yay, and we're going to cheer for it and talk about how great it is. I think we can maybe get material for like one video out of it, but that's the bad news.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it as well. It wasn't perfect, but it was so much better than the other show that we've been reviewing, which is Willow, I can't really tell if it's a great show or it's just a good show. I think it's probably just a good show, but really compared to a lot of the other stuff that I've seen, it's in the upper better so far. Remember, we're just looking at episode 1. So I did enjoy it a lot. And like you, I'm not sure we're going to be able to critique a whole lot because I think that the writers know what they're doing. So
yeah, they were pretty solid ground as far as storytelling techniques and writing methods. I mean, definitely this is the kind of thing that I would write if they asked me to do that. So I can't find very many faults if they're doing what I would do.
So let's go ahead and follow our usual format, which is start with something that you liked.
There's actually quite a bit here.
Okay.
It starts off well. So we immediately get kind of a flashback view. We get Harvey Keitel, excellent actor, and he brings so much to it. And they really let him use his acting chops any scene that he's in, so that's great. And so we see that there is a ancient treasure that the conquistadors had stolen from the natives of South America, and that there was a hidden group that hid all this treasure and it's waiting to be discovered, right? And that there's 3 keys. So we get the background for the story, and you need that in this kind of quest adventure. Let's get that all in one chunk, and it was beautifully done. It was filmed beautifully, and then we have that. And then I'm even going to go forward that we would get introduced to the protagonist, and we get clear goals for the protagonist that are reasonable. So she would like to work for the FBI because she's good at solving puzzles, and that would be like the dream job. Okay, it doesn't have to be a great dream or a great goal. It just has to be something that we can see that she wants to work towards, right? And then she's also got a goal of, what was the other goal? To get citizenship. So she is undocumented, or maybe not undocumented.
She's DACA.
She's DACA, okay. And she wants to become an American citizen. Okay, another great goal, right? And very understandable. We can sympathize with those goals. They're not beyond our ability to think that, that's just stupid or whatever. They're real goals, and it makes her feel more realistic because they're real and simple goals.
Yep, I have to agree. So the thing that I liked about it the most was the setup of the characters. I've seen a lot of strong female lead characters lately that I just don't care about. I mean, and I'm at least regarded by most of my friends as being kind of a strongish female person. I'm a strongish woman. But they annoy me in film a lot because sometimes they are obnoxious in their strength rather than actually being what I would consider to be a good, strong female lead. And I felt like we have that. We have 2 good female leads here. We've got Tasha and Jess. Jess is the main character. And I didn't find them annoying at all. And I thought I would find the TikToker girl. She was a TikToker or a live streamer or something. Tasha. I thought, oh no, they're going to have one of those. And that irritates me because they're always portrayed in the same way. but she was so loyal and on board with Tess. Is it Tess or Jess? It's Jess,
Jess.
the main character, Jess. She's so on board with Jess's life, being supportive and being interested in what's going on in her life. She's interested
As
in her
if
own
they're
stuff.
really friends.
Yeah, she's interested in her own stuff too. Obviously, because you see the scene where she's like really into, I want to live stream this, and I want to do my video that I'm doing right now. But when it's time for Tess, she's all about Tess, and I liked that. That to me is actually a pretty strong female character. I mean, just in that area alone, being a good friend. And Tess, or sorry, gosh, I keep calling her Tess. Jess. I like her because she's sympathetic. She's not mourning, horrifically over her mother, which it's hard to lose a parent, but they've showed that she's sad, but she's also got her own thing going, and she's trying to be positive. She seems like a positive person. She's smart, but not obnoxiously smart. She doesn't go around saying like, I'm the best at this. She just is good at it. Other people recognize it, and she goes, well, these are traits from my dad. And that's an element of humility there. She's humble, but she's super talented. So I like that as well. I basically liked everybody with the exception of one character, but mainly because I don't know anything about him. So do we want to go into stuff that we didn't like or keep looking at stuff we did like?
My didn't like were more on the kind of the petty level. So mine was that Jess does a internet search, right? And she's trying to find who owns the storage unit, and her guess is that they have lost a relative. So they would be a Freemason, and if you've watched National Treasure, you already know that the whole Freemason society is in there as protectors of ancient treasures and everything, and that a Freemason has lost someone who was in the military, someone has died.
So that's basically what she Googles.
And I'm like, oh, you're stretching my belief that, boom, the first result they get, they nail it and are able to find this guy.
I would say that definitely irritated me too, is that things come a little bit easy. She hasn't had anything that she's been stumped on yet that I can think of. When she wants to find something, she does.
Super easy.
Later it was, what was she trying to find? She was trying to, oh yeah, the very, very first scene. They're in a sort of a prison break game, sort of like Escape the Room, except it's prison break. And they need a 4-number code. And she had just counted all the tally marks that were left by the previous inmate. And it took something like 1,223 days to tally marks were on there before they got out. And I'm going, so she goes up there and I'm thinking, oh, she'll just be like, it must be 1,223, 1,223. But no, she's counting year, month, and days. And that is the 4-number code for getting out of the prison. That's a bit of a stretch. Why wouldn't it just be 1,223? So anyway, I don't know how you'd come up with that other number.
Neither do I. And I'm going to kind of reflect on that a bit. So that is also something that kind of bothered me. If you think back to the original with Nicolas Cage, it just didn't pop into his head. He would work it out. And he would kind of be talking about it as he's working out, which felt natural, but it let us know how he came to that conclusion. So this is, I think this show could take a few pointers from that, right? We don't know how that thinking goes, so she just comes up with these ideas and like, wow, you're smart. But it was so much more satisfying to watch Nicolas Cage work through the process. Mm-hmm. And then it felt like a real achievement, right? Because he was kind of stumped for a little bit, and he had to think about it, and he had to think about it. And those are much more gratifying victories, is the ones that you have to work on.
And they did do a little bit of that. So if you've ever seen Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, there's a scene where he's trying to put together Indiana, like IN and Hound or something, and he goes into his mind palace, and you see images over his head as he's sorting them out. I like that. And they kind of do that in this, and I'm thinking specifically of the scene where there's the part where she's looking at the picture, and she's putting clues together, the gavel and the stained glass window, and what is it pointing to, or what is it in? Anyway, so I feel like that, I like that, but the thing is there's too big of a leap from that from what should I be looking for to that, or from there to what she's supposed to be looking for. It just feels like there's a step missing, and it could have been filled in with like what you're talking about,
Yeah.
talking about it, maybe getting some ideas from somebody, because I mean that's a lot to hold in your head. But at the same time, this is just a TV show, but you would expect a detective show to, which that's what this is. This is a treasure hunting / detective show. They would know that you can't make too big a leap like that.
Right, because the tension comes from not knowing,
Yeah.
and the tension, right, and the conflict of like, I'm not sure, I'm stumped. Where am I going to go with this?
Mm-hmm.
That's the tension in this kind of a story. So you really need that. And if you're just making those, I know the answer, then that reduces the tension. It makes it less enjoyable.
Yeah. So if I was going to try and fix the scene in the prison break, where okay, how did they come up with the 4 numbers? I wouldn't have had her starting out counting those tally marks. I would have said, we need 4 numbers. And she'll have remembered that somebody said, gosh, there's got to be over 1,000 of these tally marks. And so she's sitting there looking at the key code box going, 1,000 tally marks. That's 4 digits. So then she would run over and count them and be like, oh, okay, try this, 1,223 or whatever. And then that is the code. That's how I would have fixed that. I would have fixed that scene, because it was too convoluted for her to have said, oh, they must mean how many years, months, and days was this person here.
Oh, and and they're missing a real opportunity for tension there. So that's when you announce 1 minute left, because they're actually in an escape room, right? So 1 minute left. And so she tries the first one, right? Not it. And you only get 3 tries, right? She runs back. She runs through another one, right? We're seeing her thought process. She runs back. It's wrong. 15 seconds left to go, right? She finally figures out the last one, and they get that in at the last moment. Ooh, and they make it, right?
Yep.
A lot of tension there. I mean, you're really able to play out that scene for the most emotional payoff by doing things like that.
Yeah, and they could have actually established that there was a time limit. Remember at the very beginning, the prison guard walks by, and Tasha, I think it's Tasha, she goes, is it just me, or is our prison guard kind of hot? And that's a thing that she does. So she notices when the guys are hot. And later on, she notices that Liam, the grandson, is hot.
And he is.
Yeah. I thought he was good looking, I guess. But anyway, the prison guard moving out, that could have been everybody's signal for, okay, he's only going to be gone for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's how long we have. So that's 5 minutes. And then you have somebody keeping track of the time in their head, one of those 2 boys, because one of the boys was kind of useless. But what they can do is then they're looking at the key code, and the other one's going like, hey, what time are we at? And he's sitting there in his head, and he goes, we've got about 90 seconds left, and then he's counting down in his head.
But I just want to point out that was still a good scene.
It was
still
a good
entertaining.
Scene. Yeah.
What we're suggesting, it
How
could just
been
be
better.
a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's actually a game I like to play with most movies and TV shows that I watch. I think as an editor, I'm constantly editing. So if I'm watching a movie, and actually I have one about, what was that movie, Not Now, Darling, or something. It was a recent movie that came out, everybody liked. I have a really great ending for that one. I think I'll do a short about it. An ending that would have been better than the one that they did. Anyway, so yeah, it wasn't a huge problem, but it was enough of a problem that we could have thought of something better. And I think the best detective stories or mystery stories like this are the ones where, wow, I couldn't have thought of anything more clever than that, where the writer really blows you away with how, they've covered all their bases. They've made it as tense as they possibly could have. They've made it as tightly fit, where, there was no big leaps. It was very logical where they got to everything. And, a writer can make themselves look clever by having setup that's properly placed. I think I heard somebody, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Brandon Sanderson, but some writer was, being asked, how do you make your characters so clever, like so smart? And he said, no, it's really not that hard. I don't have to have the characters be smarter than me, but I can make them look like they're smarter just by putting little pieces of evidence, further back and earlier in the story, so that way it looks like they really are paying attention. And he's like, and I have Google right at my fingertips to, pull up random information that they know, So like, I watched Criminal Minds, and there's the one character who has a eidetic memory, and he's always got these strange little statistics just right at the, right there. And you go, everybody's like, wow, it's really cool that he's a smart character. And I'm like, yeah, the writer just sit there on Google looking stuff up and just put it right in there. So, you don't have to write a character who is legitimately smarter than you, but you can make them look smarter because you have all the tools right there. So anyway, that was a rant, but there you go. Are we doing
Favorite
stuff
scene.
I didn't like?
Favorite scene.
I didn't do stuff I don't like, did I? Because
You've been talking a really long time.
I have.
I'm thinking that was you.
No, it was your subject, because your subject was you.
Then shouldn't I have been talking?
Yeah, but
okay.
I wanted to. Okay, well, do you have more to say on yours?
No.
Well, maybe you'll have something to say on mine. Maybe you'll have something to say on what I. So there was one complaint that I had, and it was that the main character's relationship with Ethan. So it's Jess and Ethan. They're supposed to be best friends. And I was really focused on the 4 kids because they're our main characters. They're the ones I really want to see. And supposedly they are such close friends that they're basically, they can read each other's minds. So when they're in the prison break, one of them comes up with an idea, just says, we need a rope. And then Ethan goes, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking. And they both had the same idea in their heads. But that was the one instance we saw of that. What we didn't see is that the 2 of them never argue, or that they seem to be like they are really, really in step with each other, because really the only time we see them together is in that prison break, and the only thing that they do collaboratively is that one thing, because then the rest of their conversation with each other is about how we don't date, like we always think the same, but isn't it weird that we've never dated or something like that. And I think they're setting it up for a friends to lovers kind of romance between the 2 of them. And
I think they're setting it up for something.
Yeah.
And so this could, even though you're using this as something you don't like, it could be good. We complain a lot when we do Willow that they don't set things up.
Yeah.
So this could be a case where they are setting something up.
Yeah.
And then once it's revealed, we're like, oh, okay. And then you won't be bothered that was the case.
Yeah. I think I would not have had the conversation of we shouldn't have, have you ever wondered why we don't date? I think that it would have been better for the audience to be like, why aren't they dating? Because, they work so well together. But they had to have that conversation instead. So that was like an area where I felt this is a bit weak on the part of the writers. But again, it's not a very big thing, because this is just the first episode, so we haven't seen them interacting a whole lot. I would have tried to just write him in more. And then we had, was it Tasha, when they went to go find the grandson, notices Ethan is there with another girl. I might have liked to see a little bit more of a pang or something in Jess, but I don't think that they didn't do it enough. I think it was fine. I would have liked to see more if they really are going for this is going to be a romance. Or
if it's going to be something else, give us a clue to that emotion or that motive, whatever it is. I feel right that there is something going on there that we're going to see more develop with that. Give us a better clue, the direction. Is it romantic, or is it something else?
Yeah, because so far it looks like it's not romantic, but they're telling us that it should be. And one of the ways we know that is because of the comment that they had at the beginning. Have you ever wondered why we don't date? And then
I thought it was because romance is overrated.
Was that it? Was that what it said? What they said? Or is that what you personally think?
That's what I personally know.
Apologize to your lovely wife.
Sorry, hon.
Romance is not overrated.
Awesome with you.
So she, Tasha, notices that Jess didn't know Ethan would be at this bar with another girl, and is shocked and says, really, you didn't know that he would be here? I thought he tells you everything. We shouldn't have had to be told that he tells her everything. We should have seen that before. We should have seen that Jess just knows everything about Ethan, and or something. And she could have just been talking to Tasha and been like, no, he can't do that because he's doing this. Like, oh, and so the audience gets to realize that. Anyway, so that was the one complaint that I had. Again, not super big because they've got way more episodes to continue to explore this, but that was a side story. That was a subplot. With the main plot, it's pretty good. They've set everything up decently, and I want to know what happened to her dad, because I don't think he's dead. I want to know what happened to where these boxes are, and I want to know what clues the boxes lead to, and I want to know where the big treasure is. Also, are they going to end up in South America at some point?
Yes.
That'd be cool. I hope they do. That'd be neat. Watch a TV show where they travel a lot like that. That'd be cool.
That'd be good.
Okay, so now we can go to, what was it, favorite scene?
And I'm going to do two. So I'm going to do one that I just really enjoyed, and that is the one with Harvey Keitel. She goes there, and he's like an old recluse, and he doesn't want to talk to anyone. And then he slowly gets the idea that she's clever. And then he discovers that her father was part of the protectors of these treasures, right? Mm-hmm. And so Harvey Keitel is such a great actor. So it's really good because, A, he's a great actor, but I love the fact that he's kind of like auditioning her. And if you look at it that way, it's beautifully done. He's talking to her, and then finally he comes out and tells her about all this stuff, right? But that whole audition process and the way it feels like an audition, I love that. So that was great. Now, what I thought was super clever was probably the scene before that. Okay, I don't know where it's at. Is the villain. And what the villain does is she makes a few comments, and it's giving us an insight to what's going to happen. Because she talks about, don't worry, people die, and then when they die, things get found, right? Because they're dead, and they've been hidden all these years. Maybe people don't know what that treasure was, and they come to the surface, right? So that's exactly what we see. So she says 2 or 3 things, and it was very delightful then to see that come up. And the reason I mention it is we have complained time and time again as we're doing the Willow reviews that you need to set stuff up. You should mention some things, you should drop some clues, and this was one way, an effective way to do that, and then we see it come up. And if it's subtle enough, people don't realize it. It doesn't glare like, wow, she said that was going to happen. She sure did. But if it's subtle, it just sits there kind of in the back of our mind, and then when it happens, we think we're clever because we kind of figured it out or whatever else, right? Very nicely done.
Yeah, I think that, you know what, a lot of storytellers, actually not, I think all storytellers, people who are studying the art of telling a good story should study the mystery, because most of the time, a story in some respects is a mystery where you have to drop little hints of things that are going to happen, or you need to set things in place so that by the time you get to the end, the reader goes, oh, that makes perfect sense because, we've been seeing this all along, And it doesn't have to be involved with a mystery. It can be involved with a character's relationship. Like maybe you've got a child whose parent is, pushing the child away, doesn't, for some reason keeping the kid away. And you're seeing things throughout the story that, the house is disheveled, or, they've got strangers coming over all the time. And then at the end of the book, the story, you find out that, I don't know, the parent has some sort of an addiction or something, and they're trying to keep their kid out of their addiction. And then you go, oh, that all the pieces have come together. And, it doesn't have to be a mystery. It's just something that kind of sets up what happens at the end. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the best example I could come up with on the spot,
right,
but there's things.
I mean, so watch this, pay attention to, they'll give little hints here and there, and imagine what if Willow had done that, the writers of Willow had done that. Wow, I mean, our ratings and the people's reaction to that show would be way different because we'd see these things slowly develop and then fully blossom at the right time.
I think if they had the writers from this show, National Treasure, doing Willow, it would have been a totally different show. It probably actually would have honored the movie better because these are people who are aware, I think, of setup and payoff. And the movie, since this is a sequel, is partially a setup. It's part of the setup. It should be. You should be taking elements from that and seeing what would happen next, or what can we take from that to build a continuation. You said you had 2. Oh, you did 2.
I did 2, but I'm going to mention another one.
Okay.
Maybe it's not like a favorite scene or anything. I did comment one of the scenes. There's modern music and whatever they're doing, and I'm like, wow, that music fits. And we've complained so much about the music in Willow. And here's the thing. I mean, so the music reminds me very much of the music in Willow, but the difference is
it's appropriate.
It's appropriate in this setting, and it adds to the atmosphere because these are young people, and I know they're young people in Willow too. There's young people in today's society, so modern music is appropriate. And in Willow, it's just a distraction.
Yeah, and you know what, I would say this, because I think you can do the fantasy with a pop songs or rock songs. Like there's A Knight's Tale.
Knight's Tale, one of my all-time favorite movies. They did that on purpose, and I love how they did it.
We also had Lady Hawk. That was back in what, the 80s or 90s.
80s.
And then there was another one I was trying to think of, but I can't think of it now. But anyway, you can do it, and it can work. Usually it's not a pop song that people know, unless it's super stylized, like A Knight's Tale, where you're supposed to be watching, as Randy pointed out to me, it's a sports movie.
Yeah.
It's a sports movie. It's a medieval sports movie. So it makes sense to have the rock and roll in there and stuff. So I liked, and they used really classic rock.
Yeah.
And they didn't dress it up too much. They, the very first jousting scene, and they're going, "We will rock you." It's just, "We will rock you." I loved it. But yeah, so there is a place for fantasy movies that have the rock and roll. This one, because it's a sequel, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because Willow didn't have it. It didn't set that up. So no. If this was its own entity, they could have maybe made it work.
Yeah.
So lessons learned, hopefully, for the writers, but I doubt it. My favorite scene was, it was the scene with Liam, the grandson.
Okay.
And the reason for this was because
he was hot.
No. Well, okay.
No.
He was a good-looking guy, I guess. I'm not my type, but he was a good-looking guy. But he was a musician, and I've got some musicians in my background. But anyway, so the what is it? Okay, the music. Now, this is a technical thing. This is about using the medium well. In writing, use your words, use the language that is used. If you are making a movie, you also have visuals and, I don't know, audibles.
Yeah,
audibles.
Which is nothing to do with football and getting ready to hike it. It's not the same thing.
I was thinking of Audible, the book, whatever, the audiobook thing. Anyway, so what they did with this scene was she came to tell him, "Hey, I've got this letter from your grandpa," and he was reproachful. He didn't want that. He "I don't want to have anything to do with my grandpa. I don't want this letter, nothing." And the music that was played was sad. Yeah. It was tragic. Now, if there was no music there, it might have been very easy to interpret this as, my grandpa and I have bad blood between us. I hate him, and there's something wrong. Like we argued a lot or something like that. But because the music was sad, I think he doesn't like his grandpa because his grandpa disappointed him in some way.
Right, and so we talk about setting up, right? That's kind of the theme of what we're doing on this video. It sets it up. So this guy's playing a song, and like seconds later, there's a conversation. And yet the song and the mood of that song has already affected, in a very positive way and in a very natural way, the conversation that goes on.
Yeah, and I'm even just talking about the music that's playing while he's having this conversation. So he's not playing the song, but the instrumental, the soundtrack. Yeah, but but I liked it because it was a very specific type of, I don't want to talk to him, or I don't want to have anything to do with his memory or anything. It was sad, I don't want to have anything to do with his memory, which to me tells me that his grandfather disappointed him in some way, not betrayed him or angered him or anything like that, disappointed in some way.
And then what you pointed out to me is, and we want to find out more. We'd like to know more of that story. Yeah.
And again, it gets back to good setup, because we're expecting a payoff. And in this case, we know that something sad happened, and that's much better than I hate him and I'm angry at him. I mean, I guess you could have that too, and then that's a different type of a mystery, but this digs into your empathy. I just noticed that the camera cut out. I don't know where it cut out at, but
So she's going to repeat everything she said through an entire video.
No. I'm just going to repeat the last little bit, which was because the music was sad, it sets up a very particular type of mystery. He was disappointed by his grandfather, and that strikes at our empathy more than I think anger does. I think more people understand what it's like to feel like to have your heart broken, to be disappointed by something, to be let down, than they do to be so enraged and furious at somebody that I hate them and I never want to talk to them again. Although that's relatable too, but this has something tugging at it.
You make a really great point. I'm going to bring up Bill Cosby. So back in the day, so pre-scandal days, I mean, he may have been doing scandalous stuff, but just before everything came out, he gave a talk on comedy, because I'm not sure how many people know that he really started with a lot of comedy, stand-up comedy and everything. And
Kids
he
say
was,
the darndest things. I
yeah,
love that.
so I mean, he was really great, and he had made a comment that using foul language in comedy was kind of like the poor man's way to get a laugh. If you weren't talented enough, you would just go to making poop jokes or using foul language, and you would get cheap laughs because it didn't really take any talent to do that. So I feel that in the emotions department, anger is that same thing. If you have to rely always on anger as the emotion to excite a scene, then you're just resorting to the easiest, cheapest way to appeal to the audience. Whereas there's so many other emotions, and this people are going to enjoy a story much more if it's varied, if the emotions are varied. If it's sad, sometimes maybe it might be angry, right? Or they're happy, or whatever it might be. Get all those emotions in there, and within reason. I mean, you could be crazy about it and have like extreme sides of the emotion or everything, but generally, you want to be as inclusive of the emotions as possible for a really well-rounded story.
Then I guess here's the thing. So we've had the tragedy of the mother having passed a year before, and we don't know anything about the dad. We know that the mother seemed to have been very angry about the dad and tried to cut him out of life. So then maybe in this case, I don't know. The thing is this. So yes, you do want to have a lot of variety of emotion. This is actually one of the reasons I think Harry Potter ended up being so successful, was because it was a great mix of comedy, mystery, romance, adventure. It was everything. It had a little bit of everything, so there was something for everyone in there. I could go into that, but I'm not going to. Yeah, I think it's really important for storytelling. But I think that with something that is tragic, there's something that feels like it's a pull, whereas anger is a push. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so that's why I thought this was a good choice for this situation, because his reaction seems to be anger. But because the music is sad, we know that anger is related to something, like he wishes things were better, but he was disappointed, and now he has no choice but to just like, no, I'm angry at him and I'm not doing this. So I liked that. I thought that was good. Okay, so the last thing we do is we usually make predictions.
Right, and I predict we're not going to watch any. I mean, I'm going to watch the whole series because I'm enjoying it, but I predict that we may not make another video. Although Amber suggests maybe we'll watch the whole series and we'll make another one at the end of the series just to see if it paid off the way we thought it would.
I think if this video does well, then we'll do more. If it doesn't do well, then we won't. But either way, I don't think we're going to do episode by episode, because we're behind we're putting this out when there's 5 episodes out, and I know there's 10. But if this video does really well, we'll look into maybe doing more than just one more at the end or none. So, how about ratings? How would you rate this? And I'm gonna say let's make sure we rate it. Let's give a I don't know. I was gonna say let's give it a rating for comparison to Willow, but then also just an overall rating, because.
Okay, compared to Willow, this was a 9 for me. All right.
Yeah.
If I haven't been dragged down by Willow, I probably would give it a very solid 7, which is a very respectable score. Mm-hmm. It's a score that meant I liked it. I mean, am I going to go shout to all my friends like, you have to watch this because this is the best show ever? No. But my son and I watch a lot of stuff together, and this is one that I'm looking forward to spending time and watching this with him. So 9 compared to Willow, 7 in my normal way of viewing things.
Yeah, I would say compared to Willow, it was a 10. It was really good compared to Willow. But I mean, it wasn't perfect, so I can't give it a 10. I would say maybe a 9. But I think I'm giving it the same score. Just with not considering Willow, just overall about a 7, because it wasn't perfect, and it's hard to judge on the first episode, but it was worth it. Where I would say I would probably watch more because I'm interested now in the mysteries that have been set up.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Anyway, okay. I think that's it. We're good to go.
That's it.
Okay. All right.
Later.